Hey folks, Eric Moser here with Covert Conversations. Thanks for joining me today. Today we're going to be discussing a recent incident in North Carolina where a school resource officer body slammed a middle school student. Stay tuned. Hey, before we get going and moving into this video, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of my newer content. As I mentioned previously, we're going to be discussing a recent incident in North Carolina that was caught on video where a school resource officer, basically the police officers who are assigned to local schools. I'm not sure how it works in this jurisdiction in North Carolina, but you see clearly that he's walking with this little kid, the officer, and I'm assuming words are exchanged or the kid says something to him that sets him off. We're going to watch the video and I'm going to pause it at key moments and I'll comment as we go.
This shocking school surveillance video shows a North Carolina school resource officer walking a middle school boy to the office, then abruptly body slamming him. Not once, but twice. The Vance Middle School resource officer, who has no previous incidents on his record, has been suspended pending an investigation by the state of North Carolina.
This is a use of force.
Now, my big question is, what could possibly have that kid had said? What could that kid have possibly said that set that officer off to the point to where he grabs his little boy who grabs his little kid and slams him to the ground in that manner? I mean, that's crazy, crazy violent. And I've mentioned time and time again where we have to, if you're in law enforcement or if you're aspiring to be in law enforcement in any capacity, developing thick skin is so vital. Now, there are times where we all step outside of that and we catch ourselves being sensitive, or we're sensitive to the words or the remarks that are said. But in this career field, dealing with people's insults are par for the course. It just comes with the territory. And we have to be prepared if we choose to venture into this career field. We have to be prepared for that.
Worst case, and the sheriff appropriately is called in an outside agency to investigate, and I can just I've been able to assure the family that this is being conducted appropriately.
I was stunned. I was shocked.
And I want to give credit to the school district and to the police department, police agency that enacted a swift investigation to deal with this matter, especially in the culture and the climate that we're living in today, where every officer's every move is videotaped and recorded. It demonstrates a sign of good faith on the behalf of the police department, which will hopefully help bridge the gap, which seems to be the ever-increasing gap between police departments and the community.
Curtis Brame is the sheriff of Vance County. He requested the state-level investigation.
And seeing a child that small reminded me of one of my grandchildren.
There's no sound on the surveillance video, and it's unclear what was said between the officer and the student that might have sparked the officer's violent reaction. We now know the child was not hospitalized. His mother said he's suffering only from a bump on his head. But for many parents and school officials, there's no justification for using that kind of force on a child who's under 12 years old.
It hurt me because I was like, no, that's the school my baby go to.
Emma Williams' grandson is a Vance County middle school student.
Regardless of how a kid acts, what a kid says, that person, that's a grown man. And the job you have, you got to have standards.
Standards that Vance County officials hope will be imposed by the state. Matt Bradley, NBC News.
Now, just playing devil's advocate, what could be the worst thing that kid said to anger the officer? Now, let's say he threatened the officer's life. Now, could he have done something else? Could he have just slammed him against the wall, handcuffed him? There are many. If he had threatened his life, Now, I don't know how he could have possibly have done that as far as posing any level of credible threat. I don't think that's even possible considering the size difference. But I'm just playing devil's advocate, just for the sake of conversation. If you're going to stop someone and subdue them if they're demonstrating or making a threat towards you or threatening you, you take them down to the ground, you handcuff them, you secure them, you go on about your business. Take them to the office, do whatever you have to do, book them into juvie, whatever the case may be. That's how you handle that situation. Not slam them on the ground, pick them up, slam them back down on the ground. So I just can't really give this officer a pass in this incident. And I think that most of us in law enforcement who are fair-minded and who are familiar with force and how it's actually applied in most situations, or should I say how it should be applied, can clearly see how this officer is in the wrong. And in times like this, we need to be clear when we speak out on these incidents, because it increases the tension, as I mentioned previously, that already exists between the citizens and the officers, especially when you have media and political figures and popular figures in general, whether it be in entertainment, who constantly churn the waters and exaggerate those cases where those officers were justified in using those. When we are quiet and don't speak out when we see wrongs done, that doesn't help. Now, though, as I've said on many occasions, there are those out there who refuse to listen to reason, and they hate cops. Trust me, I know. I deal with them on my Facebook page for Code Red Conversations. And as an aside, if you haven't liked that, make sure you jump on over and give Code Red Conversations on Facebook a like. I would greatly appreciate it, and a follow. But it adds to the tension for those out there who are reasonable. Because like I've said many times before, the unreasonable ones, I'm not really trying to reach those. I'm not really trying to reach them. I'm trying to reach those that they're at least willing to listen and have a dialogue, have a rational dialogue, who may have a few questions when they see something that they just don't understand. Or they may even be angered by, but they're at least willing to engage in a conversation in regards to these topics. But once again, if you're going to get into this field, you have to be prepared for the nonsense. You just do. You have to understand the laws of force, whether they be how your department dictates them, in conjunction with the federal mandates, Graham versus Connor, Tennessee versus Garner. You have to be proficient and knowledgeable and do whatever it takes to not allow your emotions to take control. You just can't do it. There have been times where I've felt myself wanting to lose control, and I'll have another officer transport this guy, take him to jail, because they were just getting to a point where I was getting annoyed. Now, we have to do whatever we can to strengthen that area. If we know people maybe even calling you an ethnic slur, calling you the N-word, or whatever the case may be, if you know that's going to fire you up, you have to prepare your mind for that occasion when it happens, because it will happen. You have to prepare yourself and be willing to understand, look at the source, develop that thick skin, let it go in one ear and out the other, get your job done, because if you react, you're opening yourself up for, you're allowing that inmate or suspect or whoever it may be to win. So don't put yourself in that situation. Be smarter than that, be better than that. And don't give those out there who hate us more fuel for the fire. Once again, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. What are your guys' thoughts on this video? If there's anyone out there who thinks that officer was justified, I would love to hear your rationale for it. I question it highly, but I'd love to hear why you would say that. And also, if you're in agreement with me, maybe think of another way. What are some of the things that you've done? If you're in law enforcement or if you're in any field where you deal with the public and you've been called out of your name. It could be retail, it could be working in a restaurant, whatever the case may be. What are some of the tips and tools that you've employed to help yourself when someone insults you and you feel yourself getting angry? What are some of the things that you've done to keep yourself from getting in trouble? I'd love to hear. Comment down below. In the meantime, stay safe, God bless, and make sure you join the conversation.